What if I told you that Roman Reigns isn't the victim in this Bloodline civil war? He's the mastermind. What if every shocking moment, every brutal attack, every cryptic warning has been orchestrated by the original tribal chief himself? August 11th, 2025, wasn't the night Roman finally broke his silence. It was the night his master plan reached its climax. I'm about to expose the most calculated manipulation in WWE history, and by the end of this video, you'll never look at Roman Reigns the same way again. For months, we've watched what appears to be a family torn apart. Solo Sikoa's rebellion, Jacob Fatu's mysterious warnings, Sami Zayn caught in the crossfire, and Roman Reigns playing the role of the displaced patriarch. But what if this entire narrative is a lie? What if Roman never lost control? He simply changed his strategy. Today, I'm presenting evidence that will shatter everything you think you know about the Bloodline saga. We're going to examine the suspicious timing of events, analyze behavioral patterns that don't add up, and reveal how Roman's chilling warning to Solo was nothing more than scripted theater. By the end, you'll understand why Roman Reigns might be the most manipulative character in WWE history, and why that makes him more dangerous than ever. Let's start with the most damning evidence. Jacob Fatu's behavior doesn't match that of a loyal soldier, it matches that of a planted operative. Think about it. When Solo formed his new bloodline with Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and JC Mateo, who was the one major addition that gave the faction instant credibility? Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf. But here's what doesn't add up. Jacob's loyalty to Solo has been questionable from day one. At Money in the Bank 2025, Jacob shocked the world by betraying Solo Sikoa, costing him the Money in the Bank briefcase. Fans on X were buzzing, with Elite Club S0 tweeting, "Jacob Fatu is crashing out at Solo." But what if this wasn't a spontaneous betrayal? What if it was the first phase of Roman's plan? Consider the timeline. Roman loses the tribal chief status to Solo at WWE's Netflix premiere on January 6, 2025. But instead of immediately fighting back, Roman disappears. He goes silent for months while Solo builds his faction. During this time, Jacob Fatu, a wrestler with deep respect for the Anoa'i family legacy, mysteriously aligns with Solo despite having no prior relationship with him. Here's where it gets suspicious. Jacob's betrayals of Solo always happen at crucial moments that benefit Roman's long-term interests. The Money in the Bank betrayal prevented Solo from having a guaranteed championship opportunity. Jacob's reluctance to attack Sami Zayn on August 11th protected someone who was once Roman's honorary use. And Jacob's cryptic warning, "You better watch it," wasn't a threat to Solo, it was a signal that the plan was proceeding. Roman Reigns is a master strategist. He spent 4 years building the most dominant faction in WWE history. Do we really believe he'd just walk away and let Solo take over without a contingency plan? Jacob Fatu isn't Solo's enforcer, he's Roman's sleeper agent, planted to destroy the new bloodline from within. The evidence is in Jacob's actions. At SummerSlam, he challenged Solo for the United States Championship in a steel cage match. Even though he lost due to interference from Tama Tonga, the message was clear. Jacob was positioning himself as Solo's equal, not his subordinate. When Solo forced Jacob to give up his tag team championship to Tonga Loa on August 23rd SmackDown, fans noticed Jacob's growing frustration. User JT Takeover tweeted, "Loyalty will only go so far." Jacob Fatu won't forget this. But what if Jacob's frustration was all an act? What if every moment of tension, every sign of rebellion, was carefully orchestrated to make Solo paranoid and unstable? Roman didn't need to be physically present to destroy Solo's leadership, he just needed Jacob to slowly poison it from within. Now let's examine the Sami Zayn situation, because this is where Roman's manipulation becomes truly diabolical. On August 8, 2025, Sami Zayn defeated Solo Sikoa in Montreal, Solo's hometown. The wrestling world called it an upset, but what if it was anything but random? Roman Reigns knows Sami Zayn better than anyone. Sami was his honorary use, the outsider who earned his place in the original Bloodline through loyalty and heart. When Sami betrayed Roman at Royal Rumble 2023, it wasn't just a storyline moment, it was Roman learning a valuable lesson about how to use emotional manipulation as a weapon. Here's the key: Roman knew that Solo's biggest weakness was his ego. Solo claimed to be the new tribal chief, but he lacked Roman's strategic mind and emotional intelligence. Roman understood that if Solo suffered a humiliating defeat, especially to someone connected to the original Bloodline, Solo would overreact in exactly the way Roman needed him to. The timing of Sami's victory is too convenient to be coincidental. Montreal, a city where Sami is beloved, against Solo, who was trying to establish his dominance. Roman didn't need to be there physically, he just needed to ensure that Sami was motivated and prepared. And who better to prepare Sami than someone who knew all of Solo's weaknesses? But here's where Roman's manipulation gets truly sinister. He knew Solo would retaliate against Sami. He was counting on it. The brutal attack on August 11th Raw wasn't just Solo's revenge, it was Roman's trap. Solo, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and JC Mateo dragged Sami out of his match against Rusev and delivered a 4-on-1 massacre. Punches, kicks, and a devastating Samoan spike from Solo left Sami crumpled on the floor. Roman knew this attack would happen because he engineered the circumstances that made it inevitable. Solo's humiliation in Montreal, his fragile ego, his need to prove his dominance, Roman understood all of these psychological triggers because he'd spent years studying his cousin's weaknesses. And notice what happened during the attack. Jacob Fatu didn't participate with the same enthusiasm as the others. He stood apart, watching, and then delivered his cryptic warning, "You better watch it, use." This wasn't Jacob going rogue, this was Jacob following Roman's script perfectly. The attack on Sami served multiple purposes in Roman's master plan. First, it made Solo look like a bully, attacking a beloved underdog. Second, it gave Roman the moral justification he needed for his eventual return. Third, it created the perfect moment for Roman to deliver his shocking backstage warning, positioning himself as the protector of family honor. Roman didn't just predict Solo's reaction to Sami's victory, he orchestrated every element that led to it. The location, the opponent, the timing, even Jacob's strategic positioning during the attack. This wasn't family drama spiraling out of control, this was Roman Reigns conducting a symphony of manipulation. Let's dissect Roman's supposedly spontaneous backstage warning, because this is where the puppet master strings become most visible. After Raw went off the air on August 11th, Roman Reigns allegedly grabbed a microphone and delivered a bone-chilling message to Solo and his MFT faction. But everything about this moment screams calculated performance, not genuine emotion. First, consider the timing. Roman had been silent for months while Solo built his faction, made his claims, and even attacked other wrestlers. But he chooses to break his silence immediately after the Sami Zayn attack? The same attack that Jacob Fatu, Roman's suspected inside man, had just warned Solo about? The timing isn't coincidental, it's choreographed. According to witnesses, Roman's voice was low, almost a growl as he said, "Solo, you think you're the tribal chief? You think you can touch my family, my legacy, my people? You and your little tree are nothing but branches I'll break. You hurt Sami. You answer to me. This isn't a warning. It's a promise. I'm coming for you. And when I'm done, there will be only one chief standing." Let's analyze this statement word by word, because it reveals Roman's manipulation tactics. He calls MFT branches he'll break, a direct reference to their My Family Tree name. This isn't an off-the-cuff insult, it's a prepared line that shows Roman has been studying and planning his response to Solo's faction for months. He refers to Sami as my people, strategically positioning himself as the protector of the original Bloodline's legacy. But here's the manipulation. Roman knew Solo would attack Sami because Roman engineered the circumstances that made it inevitable. He's taking credit for protecting someone he deliberately put in harm's way. Most telling is his declaration, "This isn't a warning. It's a promise." Classic Roman Reigns theater, designed to sound intimidating while actually revealing nothing concrete. When will he act? How will he act? What exactly is he promising? The vagueness is intentional. It allows Roman to control the narrative while committing to nothing specific. But here's the smoking gun. Why did Roman choose to deliver this message after the cameras stopped rolling, to a handful of fans and WWE crew? If this was genuine emotion, wouldn't he have confronted Solo directly? Instead, he chose the perfect setting for his message to leak out organically, creating buzz and speculation without official WWE involvement. The entire setup reeks of calculated PR. Roman gets to look like the righteous patriarch defending his family while maintaining plausible deniability about his role in orchestrating the events that led to this moment. He's not just playing chess while everyone else plays checkers. He's convincing everyone that he's not even playing the game. This shocking warning wasn't Roman finally breaking his silence. It was Roman revealing just enough of his hand to move to the next phase of his master plan. And the wrestling world fell for it completely. When you examine Roman's behavior patterns over the past year, a disturbing picture emerges of someone who maintains control by creating the illusion of chaos. This isn't the first time Roman has used strategic absence and manufactured crises to strengthen his position. It's his signature move, perfected over years of psychological warfare. Look at Roman's history with the original Bloodline. When Jey Uso first showed signs of rebellion, Roman didn't immediately crush him. Instead, he allowed the tension to build, used it to create compelling television, and ultimately emerged stronger when Jey fell back in line. When Sami Zayn joined as the honorary use, Roman initially resisted, then embraced him, then used Sami's eventual betrayal as motivation for his character development. Roman understands that conflict creates investment. The more chaotic the bloodline appears, the more valuable Roman becomes as the stabilizing force. His 4-year reign as Universal Champion wasn't just about dominance, it was about positioning himself as the irreplaceable center of WWE's universe. Now apply this pattern to the current situation. Roman loses the tribal chief status to Solo, then disappears for months. During his absence, Solo's faction becomes increasingly unstable. Jacob Fatu's betrayals, internal power struggles, questionable leadership decisions. The more chaotic Solo's bloodline becomes, the more fans long for Roman's return. Consider Roman's strategic use of silence. In an era where wrestlers constantly engage on social media, Roman went dark. No tweets about Solo's claims, no responses to attacks on his legacy, no acknowledgement of Jacob Fatu's betrayals. This wasn't weakness, it was psychological warfare. Roman knew that his silence would create more speculation and anticipation than any promo could. The genius of Roman's strategy is that he's made everyone else do the work of building his comeback story. Solo's increasingly desperate attempts to prove his legitimacy, Jacob's mysterious warnings, Sami's emotional investment in the bloodline legacy, all of these elements serve Roman's ultimate goal of returning as the undisputed leader. Even Roman's choice of when and how to break his silence reveals calculated thinking. He didn't return on television, where WWE could control the narrative. He didn't post on social media, where his words could be screenshot and analyzed. Instead, he chose a spontaneous backstage moment that would leak organically, creating the impression of authentic emotion while maintaining complete control over the message. Roman's behavioral pattern is consistent. Create chaos, remain above the fray, then return as the solution to problems he secretly created. He's not the victim of family betrayal, he's the architect of a complex psychological operation designed to eliminate any threats to his supremacy. The most chilling aspect of this pattern is how it reveals Roman's true character. He's willing to manipulate his own family, put former allies in danger, and orchestrate emotional trauma, all to maintain his position as the tribal chief. This isn't just wrestling storyline manipulation, it's sociopathic behavior disguised as family loyalty. Now that we've examined all the evidence, let's reveal Roman's complete master plan and why it represents the most sophisticated manipulation in WWE history. Roman isn't trying to reclaim his throne, he's systematically destroying anyone who could threaten it while positioning himself as the savior of the Bloodline legacy. Phase 1 was the strategic retreat. After losing to Solo at WWE's Netflix premiere on January 6, 2025, Roman didn't fight back immediately. Instead, he allowed Solo to believe he'd won, giving his cousin enough rope to hang himself. During this phase, Roman planted Jacob Fatu in Solo's faction and began psychological operations designed to destabilize Solo's leadership. Phase 2 involved manufacturing the perfect crisis. Roman knew Solo's weaknesses, his ego, his need for validation, his lack of strategic thinking. By ensuring Sami Zayn was positioned to defeat Solo in Montreal, Solo's hometown, Roman created the humiliation that would trigger Solo's overreaction. The brutal attack on Sami wasn't Solo's decision, it was Roman's trap, perfectly executed. Phase 3 was the calculated revelation. Roman's shocking backstage warning wasn't spontaneous emotion, it was a carefully timed PR move designed to position him as the righteous protector of family honor. By delivering this message after cameras stopped rolling, Roman ensured it would leak organically, creating maximum impact while maintaining plausible deniability. But here's Phase 4, the endgame that's still unfolding. Roman is going to return not as a conqueror, but as a reluctant savior. He'll claim he never wanted this war, that he tried to let Solo lead, but family loyalty forced his hand. The wrestling world will cheer his return, completely forgetting that Roman orchestrated every element of the crisis he's now solving. The brilliance of Roman's plan is that everyone wins, except Solo. Jacob Fatu gets to be the hero who helped bring down a tyrant. Sami Zayn gets his revenge and potentially a place in the reformed Bloodline. The fans get the return of their tribal chief. And Roman gets to reclaim his throne while looking like the good guy. This strategy explains why Roman's warning specifically mentioned there will be only one chief standing. He's not just threatening Solo, he's announcing the systematic elimination of anyone who could challenge his authority. Solo's MFT faction will be dismantled piece by piece, with each member either falling in line or being destroyed. The most disturbing aspect of this master plan is how it reveals Roman's true nature. He's not the honorable patriarch he pretends to be, he's a master manipulator who views his own family as chess pieces in his quest for permanent dominance. His willingness to orchestrate Sami's attack, manipulate Jacob's loyalty, and psychologically torture Solo shows a level of calculated cruelty that goes beyond typical wrestling heel behavior. Roman Reigns hasn't just been playing 4D chess while everyone else plays checkers, he's been playing an entirely different game, one where the rules are written by him and victory was predetermined from the moment he first stepped away from the spotlight. The evidence is overwhelming. Roman Reigns isn't the victim of a family civil war, he's the architect of the most sophisticated manipulation in WWE history. From Jacob Fatu's strategic placement as a sleeper agent to the manufactured crisis involving Sami Zayn to the perfectly timed shocking warning that positioned him as the righteous savior, every element of this Bloodline saga has been orchestrated by the original tribal chief. This isn't just wrestling storytelling, it's a masterclass in psychological warfare. Roman understood that the best way to eliminate threats to his supremacy wasn't through direct confrontation but through manipulation that makes his enemies destroy themselves while positioning him as the solution to problems he secretly created. As we head towards SummerSlam 2025 and Clash in Paris, watch for the final phases of Roman's master plan to unfold. Solo's MFT faction will continue to crumble from within, Jacob Fatu will complete his betrayal by returning to Roman's side, and Sami Zayn will be welcomed back as the honorary youth who helped expose Solo's tyranny. Roman will return not as a conqueror, but as the reluctant patriarch who had no choice but to save his family from destruction. The most chilling realization is that Roman's manipulation worked perfectly on all of us. We bought into the narrative of family betrayal and civil war, never questioning whether the puppet master was pulling all the strings from the shadows. Roman Reigns didn't lose control of the bloodline, he evolved his control into something far more sophisticated and dangerous. This revelation changes everything we thought we knew about the tribal chief. He's not just WWE's top star, he's potentially the most manipulative character in wrestling history, someone willing to orchestrate the emotional and physical destruction of his own family to maintain his throne. And the scariest part? His plan is working flawlessly. What do you think about this theory? Have we all been played by Roman Reigns' master manipulation? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you see the evidence I've presented, or do you think I'm connecting dots that aren't there? And here's the real question. If Roman is this calculating, what does that mean for everyone else in WWE who thinks they're safe from his influence? Hit that like button if this theory blew your mind, subscribe for more deep dives that expose wrestling's hidden truths, and share this video with every wrestling fan who needs to see the puppet master's strings. Because once you see Roman's manipulation for what it really is, you can never unsee it. In the next video, we're diving into how this master plan affects the entire WWE landscape and which superstars might be Roman's next targets. Trust me, after watching this, you'll never look at a Roman Reigns promo the same way again. Until then, stay vigilant, stay questioning, and remember, in the world of Roman Reigns, nothing is ever what it seems.